Hey everyone, welcome to the Quality Investing Podcast. This is your host, Jake Barfield, founder and portfolio manager of Asheville Capital Management. As you probably know by now, I record episodes sporadically when I find a business that I think is accomplishing something unique in the world today. I then like to have the founder or the CEO onto the podcast to discuss what is so unique about that business model and whether it has a durable competitive advantage or not. With that in mind, I'm very excited to have Rafał Brzoska onto the podcast today. Rafał is the founder and CEO of InPost, a packaging and logistics company with its headquarters in Poland, but which is quickly expanding into the rest of Europe. InPost is rapidly taking market share via its out-of-home service that Rafał will describe in a few moments. One last thing to mention, it is the usual disclaimer. Clients of Asheville Capital Management may own positions in securities mentioned in today's episode. Nothing in this show is investment advice. I highly recommend that you do your own due diligence and draw your own conclusions. If you wish to learn more about InPost, you may visit their investor relations page. And if you wish to learn more about Asheville Capital, you may visit ashevillecapitalmanagement.com to learn more. Thanks and enjoy the episode. All right, we'll start over.
Okay, good. Good morning.
Rafał, thanks for coming on the Quality Investing Podcast. It's really great to have you.
Great pleasure. Welcome. Hi.
So before we get into some more detailed questions, there are a few people who have probably never heard of InPost before. Could you please just describe what InPost is, what the primary service is that you provide to customers?
Sure. InPost is a kind of tech platform for the seamless logistics delivery for e-commerce players. Means that in Europe, it's very popular to get your parcels delivered to a kind of out-of-home point, PUDO point, manually handled one. What we did, we have deployed more than 30 few thousands of fully automated points, machines. It looks like, a big locker wall where you literally order your parcel to the nearest locker. And it's very important to say that in our home market, which is Poland, where we started, almost 70% of the population has got less than 7 minutes walking distance to the nearest locker. So it's really very dense network. Thanks to this, it's 24/7 access. It's very convenient. You don't need to wait for the courier. Not all the people are living in single houses, which means, it's easy for the courier simply to leave the parcel there. But people are literally now taking care of the security over their parcels, and they want to control it. So when courier arrives, typically people are not at home. So it's much better to order to your nearest locker, and you pick it up whenever you want using your mobile app. You just press the button, and the machine is opening your certain locker with your parcel. And the same way it works with shipments. If you want to return some goods, you don't need to go typically to the post office to ship it. You go to the nearest locker and you can ship the parcel directly in the machine within 10 seconds, even without having any label on it, because everything is labelless. So super convenient method for delivery and for delivery and shipment of the parcel. And that's, how we work since 2010.
And I imagine there are some pretty significant cost savings in the fact that you're not delivering every single package to the door of every single recipient.
Of course, yes. One driver during 8-hour shift, visiting around 12 different locations with 12 machines, may deploy up to 1,200 parcels during 8-hour shift. Whereas normally a driver may deliver 60 to 75 parcels in traditional door-to-door way. So we are several times more efficient than traditional old-fashioned courier. Means our operating leverage, our cost structure per every parcel is giving us this extraordinary more than 45% EBITDA margin on our operations, where typically in door-to-door businesses, 3 to 7% of EBITDA profitability is maximum. So that, of course, comes at much lower CO2 emission cost, which now, specifically in Europe, is becoming more and more important for the end users because they do prefer to choose vendors who are decreasing the carbon footprint on their operations, and us being in that so in that innovative way of delivering parcels, we have a profound achievements on that field. One machine, just to give you a comparison, a visual comparison, one machine in Warsaw on daily basis saves as much CO2 as 1,200 years old trees during the whole year. One day, 12 trees a year. Because people are passing by or going by walk, picking up their parcel, instead of having, 12 or 15 vans delivering the same number of parcels directly to your home.
Can you give us a sense of scale that InPost is operating at today?
Yeah, so imagine that we are close to 1 billion parcels, 9 markets, more than 26,000 people, more than 200 of depots across 9 markets. Of course, still biggest market for us is Poland, where we have more than 50% of the total market share. But fast growing France, UK, Spain, Italy, Portugal, and Benelux. In all those markets, we are outpacing the market growth dynamics, and that's how we want to become number one player in Europe. To compare with well-known DHL delivers around 3 billion parcels, and they built that scale in recent 40 years. We are almost 1 billion within literally few years. So that of course is the dynamics we are now showing off to the overall audience and also our competitors, and they scratch their heads, how to replicate that business model, and they think it's all about deploying machines. The locker, is less than 20% of our success. We have built a whole flywheel around end consumer. End consumer centricity is the DNA of the company. We have extraordinary NPS, more than 80 points right now. And we measure that every single quarter with third-party serving agency. And they literally give us the guidance as well, what people expect. What are the new channels we may deliver even better service? And that was, for instance, thanks to those surveys, we noticed that printing out the label for the return is a hassle because people are using less and less printers at home. So we have invented, a special functionality in our mobile app. By the way, our mobile app is in our home market right now the most often used mobile app among 12 million users. In Poland only, we provide our services for more than 20 million users out of 26 shopping online. So that scale is now copycat in every single market, including, the development of the new services, including the development of the mobile app, because we want to proliferate the same idea around picking up your parcels when you want, instead of, waiting for the parcel when the courier is coming. So I think, we are heading into the right direction. The overall society is very supportive to those kind of innovative delivery ways.
So that anticipated my next question, which was, so InPost has this giant market share that people have their packages delivered to. And now you've talked a little bit about this ecosystem part, but the question was going to be, I can understand why a consumer might have a package delivered to an automated parcel machine, but why might a consumer choose to have it delivered specifically to an InPost APM? And you're talking about this ecosystem. So I guess a second sort of follow-up question, answer it however you like, is why couldn't a competitor create a similar ecosystem and back-end infrastructure to what InPost has?
Of course, you can recreate that, but you need to recreate every single element of that flywheel. Means not only the machines network, and right now we have more than 23,000 machines in Poland, and we have like 5 different players trying to replicate that by deploying more and more lockers. Even very often the lockers are on the same real estate, and we see that in our cameras how many parcels they deliver to their machines versus our courier. And it's like in our machine is 100 parcels a day, for instance. In their machine is 2-3 parcels a day. Why is that? Because at the end of the day, who votes for the service? The end consumers vote. And they vote for InPost because we are delivering 7 days a week. Next day delivery is more than 99% of the parcels. Moreover, the cutoff times we offer for our merchants, very often it's midnight. So you shop online 11 p.m. At midnight, is shipped from our fulfillment center located in the center of Poland where the main sorting hub is located. Means it's picked and packed during the night, shipped to the final destination, and early morning it's delivered to one of our machine, one out of 23,000 machines, even in a very distant location in a small village. So state-of-the-art logistics, state-of-the-art technology, mobile app loyalizing the end consumers. Now new services like InPost Pay implemented in the mobile app where you can have one single checkout point. You push the button, you shop online, and you deliver, or the parcel is delivered to your preferred way of delivery, which is our locker. So we encircled our end consumer with those solutions. And then you need to ask yourself, for what reason I have to switch to other 5 players? Do I need 5 other mobile apps? Yeah, it's like with Spotify. If you use Spotify, what's the reason to use Google Music or Apple Music? Spotify is literally winning against much richer guys because of their innovation, services that are literally matching people's expectation before they even think about them. And that's the beauty of InPost as well. Extreme loyalization of the end users is bringing us this effect because of all those elements, not only one single element, which is the locker. So answering in a short sentence, yes, you can recreate InPost, but you need to recreate every single element, and then you need to have a hope that you can take that customer from InPost and drag him to your side. Otherwise, if there is Spotify, another edition of Spotify created by a Chinese player, I don't think so I will migrate if they have the same what I have now.
Got it. That's helpful. So I understand how the Polish market, you've already established this expectation for convenient delivery to these out-of-home networks, but you're expanding into some countries, France with Mondial Relay and the United Kingdom particularly, where that out-of-home pickup is not well established. I believe most consumers have been getting packages delivered to their door for a long time, and you're expanding quite aggressively into this market. Your revenue is growing. How have you solved for this problem? How are you working against that feedback loop that consumers have had established for quite a while?
That's a very good question. I think it's completely opposite. When we started in Poland in 2010, there was 0 out-of-home solutions on the market. The whole market was door-to-door. So we went that journey from 100% door-to-door to now more than 60% of the Polish market being out-of-home. We changed people's behavior and their social habits. In France, for instance, when we bought Mondial Relay, France was already 40% out-of-home market, but to PUDO points, to manually handled PUDO points. So we don't need to transform the society. We are building on that existing setup. In the UK, it's not 40%, but it's 10% of the overall volume being out of home. But UK is 8 times bigger market volume-wise than Poland. Means if I have tomorrow in the UK, not my 7,000 machines I deployed so far, but 23,000 machines from Poland, I will provide capacity for less than 5% British volume. And the market is growing. Means I will never, I don't want to say never, I don't need to be in a position, market position like I've created in Poland to be more successful in the UK and in France than I am currently in Poland, because markets are much bigger. The total addressable market in UK, France, Italy, and Spain combined is 30 times more than we have currently in Poland. That's the beauty of this is really a blue ocean we are focused now.
So I can see how you might be successful from a revenue perspective in terms of gaining scale there. What about from a profit perspective? So in Poland, it's very profitable, 46% EBITDA margins. And a large part of that is derived by this ecosystem that you've established of repeat users who frequently purchase and the efficiencies that you've gained on your logistics. In Poland, I don't know that that's built yet in these other areas where InPost is clearly the market share leader and therefore has pricing power. So how do you build this ecosystem when it is a blue ocean? It is sort of a land grab opportunity right now, and somebody else could build something similar and be listening to this and building an ecosystem.
Yeah, and that's a typical step-by-step approach. You can't go to 46% of your EBITDA margin without having the whole setup. When we bought Mondial Relay, even now after 2 years, almost 3 years of transformation, still we are not next day delivery service across France, which is essential for us. In our end consumer mindset, next day delivery is super important. We can't provide this setup, not because we don't want to. It's all because the dense network of depots. France is much bigger than Poland. And when we bought Mondial Relay had only 20 few depots across France. In Poland, we have currently 70. So to decrease the driving time from the sorting hub to the depot, from depot to the locker, you need to have a dense network of depots. You can't buy depots off the shelf. This is a 2 years time horizon for investment. So this is, how we transform every market into having state-of-the-art logistics, having state-of-the-art and very dense network of APMs, and then embed our end user with all the tech solutions based on the mobile app. And that's combined with the pricing policy and extraordinary good quality gives us the secret sauce. There are many more elements, of course, impacting that secret sauce, but my North Star is definitely be above 30% of EBITDA margin in every single market. We started creating, in recent years, and Poland is like a super North Star showing us what may happen if all the elements are pulled together into one value proposition for end consumer.
What would prevent you from achieving these goals, particularly in Mondial Relay and in the UK? What are some of the largest concerns right now?
No, the only concern is time. Time is the concern, because you need more time to build the setup. Then you need to transform the client from using conveying him, from this manual PUDO points to the locker. It's much easier because we experienced that already in France. We see that how quickly our machines are ramping up. By the way, our machines in France are ramping up their utilization much faster than it was historically in Poland when we had similar network. That gives me confidence that it's just a matter of time where we will be there. And of course, competitors will try. This is good for us. It makes us even stronger because we are continuously innovating our services, making our end merchants and end users even more happy with the service we deliver to them.
To what extent are you concerned about competitors? I'm thinking particularly of DHL. You mentioned they have 3 billion package volume. It's taken them a very long time to build that. And obviously they operate in a lot of different countries. Are you concerned about DHL or somebody who is already a scale logistics player from building something similar to what InPost has?
I can give you one example, a kind of illustrative one. Imagine you have two big planes producers, Boeing and Airbus. Let's not comment, about one or another, but
Okay.
they are two. They are literally now focused only on building big planes. Why they don't create business jets? It should be easy. It's just a smaller plane. On the other hand, such an attractive market. Why the producers of business jets like Gulfstream, like Dassault Aviation, like Bombardier, Embraer, a little bit, they are here and there, but why those three are not inclined to go into this much bigger market, especially that one out of two has got problems literally now? Because the whole setup of those producers, both the big wide body planes and the business jets, has been created for two different products. You can't shift your factory from small business jets into creating big planes. Software is different, technology is different, R&D is different, people setup is different. So if you look at the big old-fashioned door-to-door focused players, their whole setup is focused for door-to-door. They can't shift it from next day to another setup. Their depots design is different. Their software for the drivers is different. Their skill set is different. That's why even, DHL, I think in one of the reports, they admitted that they believe in out of home, but on the other hand, they understand out of home is not something what will have more than 5% of their volume. Our mindset is 100% out of home. Only in Poland we have door-to-door because this was a kind of legacy when we were on the postal market as well, competing against the state-owned Polish Post. So we maintained that, but in all other geographies, we are just out of home. And the whole setup is all about out of home. That's why we are much more efficient, and it's much more difficult for the others to change their setup and hit us easily. It's not so easy.
What about some of the larger e-commerce players? Like I'm thinking of Amazon and Allegro in particular.
Amazon is a great example. They have created a network of lockers in 5 countries. They haven't created in Poland. They started collaboration with InPost from day one, knowing that we have already created best-in-class service in this country. Amazon is going into own logistics only if the existing players can't deliver quality they expect from them or the pricing they expect from them. So this was a kind of remedy for Amazon to counterbalance dependency on the postal operators that collaborated from the very early beginning of their journey, both in the US and in Europe. And when Amazon started deploying their lockers, it was after our first lockers were deployed in Poland. They started slowly, but then they noticed that still they have created such a door-to-door culture among their end users using their prime value proposition that for the end consumers, it hadn't played any role to door or out of home Amazon Locker. There was no price incentive. There was no communication around ESG. There was no communication around, all the values that out of home is bringing to the end consumers. That's why it was very hard for them to convince people to use their lockers. And, recently they stopped deploying lockers in the UK, for instance. So, and at the end of the day, even if their setup was successful or would be successful, it's just narrowed down to your own consumers, your own marketplace. Do you think that a fashion retailer competing against Amazon or any other retailer competing against Amazon, they will try to use Amazon lockers? They would love to redirect their own consumers to Amazon and vice versa? I don't think so. That's why us being agnostic player, open for every player on the market, including marketplaces and platforms like Shopify, Shopper, and the others, it's much easier because we are neutral and we are helping all the merchants to grow their value proposition, making their end consumers even more happy and even more loyal to certain player. That's the difference.
Understood. So you're speaking to this agnosticism of even if Amazon were to redirect a lot of their volumes through their own locker network, which it sounds like they're not incentivized to do because you can offer them the same price, same level of convenience. And sort of going back to your earlier point, it's the consumer that chooses where they're going to have their package delivered to anyways. And so if InPost has this footprint, they have this established, right? But also the merchants are going to incentivize them to go through InPost rather than through a competing service.
Exactly. And for the platform, spending money on hard assets, on CapEx, is going completely away from their asset-light business model. Completely. If you want to invest in hard assets, in logistics, it will cost you billions. And still, you will create that on a subscaled part of the existing volume on the market. And that's the difference. That's the massive difference.
And nobody else other than Amazon or Allegro or some of these other large e-commerce players would have the volume to even justify building a logistics.
No, but by the way, Amazon can do it. But even with their few thousands of lockers in the UK, if the machines are full, this will be less than 0.5% of overall Amazon volume. The capacity is very limited. So it's always, a play around how much I want to spend for the CapEx instead of, strengthening my value proposition on the soft assets like, functionalities on my platform.
Mm-hmm. Or marketing to consumers,
or marketing,
right?
yeah, acquiring more clients simply, yeah, or implementing new financial services, for instance, whatever. Much better and much faster return on the invested capital than, deploying more and more into fulfillment centers, depots, drivers, trucks, and lockers.
So we've talked a little bit about international expansion to the UK and to France, but you're operating in some other countries. You've mentioned that the market for e-commerce in all of Europe is 40 times that of Poland. So I have to imagine you have an eye towards expansion in other countries. You haven't provided guidance on anything, so I want to be careful there. But what is the dynamic like in some of these other countries? Is that out of home established? Are there any players doing what InPost is doing in some of these countries? I'm thinking, particularly Italy, Spain. Anywhere else.
All in all, there are, I think, 20 different initiatives across Europe, including the markets we don't operate, with different players trying to do lockers and out-of-home setup. And in the markets we operate, there are some players trying, mostly in the PUDO space, because it's cost effective, it's cheaper. But it will progress. I think we will notice very soon some players disappearing from the market. We already, or you may already see that in Benelux, especially, the market is very, very challenging, very competitive in terms of all the players out there. There are already examples where existing players who started now withdrawn from, for instance, from Netherlands. It's not easy because setting up the network is one element. Acquiring end users, making them happy, and loyalize them, it's a different story. So there is competition, there will be competition. Irrespective of that, we are and we will be the biggest player in Europe, providing services to most of the clients at best potential level, best price, and definitely, at the strongest ESG credentials as a proof of the whole concept.
And investing in these new markets, you believe that you can achieve an adequate payback rate on the capital required to deploy these lockers?
The more we are advanced in that setup, yes, it will accelerate. So the denser the network is, the stop rate is more attractive. The drivers are spending less time on driving, more on delivering. Then naturally, every single parcel is improving your profitability profile and bringing you the return on the invested euro, every euro, sooner than it was before. So, but this is a journey. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. This is not a sprint. You can't deploy 10,000 machines a year. You will not find locations. You will not prepare them. You will not sign all the contracts. You will not be able even to deploy more than we deployed 6,000 machines in Poland 2 years ago. This was the record high year in terms of yearly deployment rate. Now, step by step, we are improving that in France, in the UK, in Italy, and Spain, every single year, adding more and more. But 6,000 is really, really a lot. And the capacity needed is much higher. Market needs more capacity, especially in the peak times, Christmas seasons. So we will move from a moment where merchants are negotiating the price only to a moment where people will negotiate and auction capacity, especially in the peak times. And we want to be ready for that moment, providing capacity for the key merchants collaborating with us, specifically for those who collaborate with us on all the markets, because that's how we create so-called framework agreements, which also is different. We have our network in 9 markets. No one else has got. So one big merchant, pan-European merchant, may sign one contract, and we provide him capacity in 9 markets. When you have a local player, doesn't matter if it's a marketplace or it's another logistics company, you can just offer your capacity on a local market. So our framework agreements gives them capacity, price visibility, standard quality, SLA, and all those elements, especially in the cross-border, because now we prepare ourselves for cross-border operations where, by the way, the traditional door-to-door drivers, they make most of their margin on the cross-border, not on the domestic operations. We want to create a very good value for the merchants, especially for cross-border parcels, giving them, again, opportunity to decrease the cost, which in my honest opinion, the cost is too high currently for the cross-border parcels. That's why, the other players are making most of their margin here.
So you're referring to the cross-border as a potential advantage to you to scaling into these markets, that maybe there's already some players, some local players, that allows you to enter a market with some very large merchants, which give you initial volume, which then can help kickstart that flywheel effect of consumers leveraging InPost.
But also the end consumer, imagine that you can ship a parcel in Lisbon, and in 3 days it's delivered to a locker, and you ship it in the locker in Lisbon, and it's shipped to the locker in Warsaw, or it's shipped to the locker in London or elsewhere. So extremely cheap, good, reliable service, which is on the first mile and last mile out of home. That's something what's non-existing right now. Non-existing.
Is there anything we haven't talked about yet that you think is just important for people to understand as they think about InPost?
I think the message I would love to share with the audience is we are continuously innovating. This is the DNA of the company. It's still founder led. I'm happy founder and shareholder of the company, but it's led by a great team, continuously working on the innovations. And our recent innovation, InPost Pay, it's like Apple Pay, you most probably know, but
Sure.
including immediate checkout with delivery. You don't need to log in. You don't need to create your own profile on the website of a merchant. You can shop as a guest, and you just confirm the transaction in InPost mobile app. It already, all your credentials, your card details are in the mobile app. You don't share it with multiple of merchants. We have more and more data leakages right now, and people's personal data you can buy everywhere. Here it's very secured. It's just once left in our mobile app, and you can shop online on multiple of merchants websites without any hassle, and it takes you literally 5 seconds to close the transaction. So we provide extraordinary safety linked with extraordinary quality of the service and speed of finalizing the purchasing. And moreover, it's always linked to your most preferred option of delivery, which is our InPost locker. And this is another barrier to entry for the others. How to break such a wall, how to break such relationship when you left some of your personal data to me, why you want to share it with the others if that solution works. And this is all about the DNA of the company, that continuously when we think about new services, we think in a way what we can do better or what we can create new, what's not existing yet on the market. And that's how the company is led and how the company develops their new services, how we strengthen our value proposition for end consumer, but also for the merchants. We drive top lines of the merchants. We are the enabler. We are not the provider, supplier, just delivering parcels. Thanks to us, people are making more money on the merchant's side. So I think understanding that will leave you in that kind of right context that we are not a logistics company. Logistics is just part of our setup, part of the flywheel. It's a consumer enablement platform, being extremely well managed by the team.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. Thanks for taking the time. I've learned a lot, and I think the people listening to this will learn a lot as well.
My pleasure, Jake. Thank you very much.
Have a great
Cheers.
day.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
You too, guys.